Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, Doctor. Today, our group will be presenting about textbook checklist. My name is Rozhafiezam bin Rosdi, and the second member is Muhammad Ridhuan bin Nasaruddin. We also have Frankie Frederick Anak Latuk in our group, and the last member is Muhammad Asyraf bin Muhammad Anwar. So I will be presenting the first two parts of this presentation. Okay, so for general information, this is the textbook that we have chosen for our checklist. The name of the textbook is Pulse 2. It is an English textbook for secondary school students. And the author of the textbook is Michelle Crawford. The publisher is Kumpulan Desifikir Sendirian Berhad. It is published last 2017. And the grade intended for Form 1 and Form 2 students. Although it is part of a series meant for Form 1 until Form 3, Pulse 2 textbook is only used for Form 1 and Form 2 students. And for the textbook components, the first component is students workbook. This textbook doesn't have any students workbook. It is only a textbook. There is no student workbook or activity book for students to do their exercises. The exercises are integrated inside the textbook itself. But for the second component, which is teacher's manual or guidebook, yes, this textbook does have a teacher's guidebook. This is the teacher's guidebook that every teacher will use together with the student's textbook. Inside it is usually used as a reference for teachers before they are teaching, if they want to teach a lesson from the student's textbook, then they will refer to the guidebook, because there is a plethora of choices and methods to be used, materials and teaching guidelines that is provided, that is very beneficial and can be used and usually used together with the student's textbook. So for the third component, which is students assessment instrument, there is a students assessment instrument. There are exercises at the end of each chapter that usually teachers will ask students to copy inside their writing book. And then there is also a mock test at the end of the book. It is according to the latest exam format PT3. There is something for teachers to assess students. And audio recordings, there is actually a CD containing audio file, and it is mostly used for listening activities inside the textbook. Usually teachers will bring the CD and play the CD inside the classroom when he or she wants to do listening exercises using the textbook. So the students would open their textbook and then look into the words or anything inside it, and then listen to the audio recording. Okay, so that's all from me. Thank you very much. This is
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon. I would like to present our group's findings on the emphasis given on language items in Unit 4, Life on Earth, Pulse 2 textbook. For speaking skills, activities are developed to initiate interactive communication. Students are encouraged to start a conversation, introduce new ideas into the conversation, keep a conversation going by posing questions, and engage with the other speaker to see whether he or she has understood you. Activities are balanced between individual response, pair work, and group work. Some of the examples include oral presentation, dialogues, and debate. However, role play and communication activities such as information gap are not available in this unit. This is a screenshot of the speaking activity in the textbook. As we can see, the activities encourage students to initiate a conversation and to keep it going by posing questions. They're also encouraged to participate in a mini debate where they have to state whether they agree or disagree with a friend's opinions. For listening skills, the unit has appropriate listening tasks with well-defined goals. Tasks are efficiently graded according to complexity. For grammar skills, the grammar is contextualized, examples are interesting, grammar is introduced explicitly and reworked implicitly throughout the book. This is a screenshot of the grammar activity in the textbook. In Pulse 2 textbook, grammar has its own section for Unit 4, and it is also reworked implicitly throughout the book. For vocabulary, the load or number of new words in each lesson is appropriate to the level. There is a good distribution from simple to complex of vocabulary load across chapters and the whole book. However, words are not repeated and recycled across the book. This is because for every unit, there is a unique theme. With that being said, Unit 4 and Unit 5 have different vocabulary load. Thus, words are not repeated and recycled across the book. For reading skills, the reading texts are used to introduce new language items such as grammar and vocabulary, consolidating skills among students in terms of language skills. There is a focus on the development of reading skills and strategies. This is a screenshot of the reading activity in the textbook. As we can see, the activities help students to practice their reading skills, and the text provided is very interesting. For writing skills, there is an appropriate progression of a variety of tasks. Tasks have achievable goals and take into consideration learners' capabilities. Attention is given to the language resources specific to the written form, such as punctuation, spelling, and layout. This is a screenshot of the writing activity in the textbook. We can see that the layout is given attention to among students in the textbook. For pronunciation skills, adequate attention is given to several criteria, such as voice projection, speed of pace, fluency, word stress, intonation, and vowel sounds. However, consonant classes are not given enough attention because we could not find any examples involving consonant clusters. It is, however, very important to know that it is easy to learn. This is an example of pronunciation skills. We can see that students are trained to practice their vowel sounds. For example, rhinoceros, giraffe, penguin. These three words involve lots of vowel sounds. However, we could not find any example involving consonant clusters. Word stress are also given enough attention to. As we can see for activity number 3, students are reminded that mammal, reptile, and insects are all stressed on the first syllable. For exercises, they are learner friendly and it is easy and simple for use in learning. The exercises place learners at the center of learning and encourage their active participation in learning. It also acknowledges the areas of student need. They're adequate in helping students improve their language skills in terms of listening, speaking, reading, and writing.
Hello everyone, my name is Frankie. So I will continue with the materials content. So for the materials, we have 6 components inside it. First selection, second grouping, third sequence, fourth repetition, fifth difficulty level, and sixth integration. For selection of the materials, we believe that the selection of materials are very suitable for Form 2 or Form 3 students. The materials are very easy to understand and not too complicated for the student. And we go to grouping. Groupings of materials are very suitable and organized accordingly to difficulties. 4 main skills: speaking, reading, listening, and writing, and also organized with the unit or team. For sequence, the sequence of materials in this book are also good and suitable for the Form 3 and also for Form 2 students. The sequence in these books usually start with basic knowledge and then followed by vocabulary, grammar, and last but not least, integrated skills, which are speaking, listening, reading, and writing activities. For repetition, I would like to say that there are some repetition of material in this book. For example, repetition of activities. However, the repetition of materials are not exactly repeated uh, as content for materials are designed differently according to the unit. Difficulties. We also agreed that the difficulties are suitable for Form 2 and Form 3 students. It starts from easy and then becomes more challenging and becomes more harder towards the end. For integration of materials are very suitable for Form 2 and Form 3 students. In this book, it teaches students how to save money, appreciate and value the nature, encourage the student to be polite, and also a little bit of cultural exposure.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, now it's my turn to explain the part, which is planning. So, here we can see that in the planning part, we need to make sure that the syllabus, it has enough instructional time for a lesson. It also must have uh, appropriate instructional content. It also need to suggest appropriate instructional materials. Furthermore, the syllabus must has a proper instructional organization. Next one is it must involve comprehensive instructional activity, and last but not least, it encourages teacher pupils interaction. Okay, so now we're moving on to the example of the syllabus inside the textbook. So here we can see that uh, in a page where we can see reading inside, it has instructional time for a lesson. I mean, we can see that uh, in the first page, it prepare uh, it it prepares enough instructional time for a lesson. And then if we look at the second criteria, it has appropriate instructional content. The textbook itself has a lot of instructional content inside the textbook. We can see in the reading part there is obvious and clear instruction there for the people and the teacher to execute their activity. And then the third one, it suggests appropriate instructional materials inside the textbook. Yes, I agree that they suggest appropriate instructional materials. And the textbook also has a proper instructional organization. As we can see, there are web quests there, and then on the top left corner for the reading part, they prepare the producer, the writers, uh, prepare lesson objectives first. They mention it first, and then they go to the activities. That is what it meant by proper instructional organization. Next one, it involves comprehensive instructional activities. As you can see inside the textbook itself, it has a lot of comprehensive activities. Like it also has prepared to students and teachers to do extra activity. As we can see in the first page at the reading part, we can see the extra activity. That is the proof where this textbook is suitable to be a part of material to for us teachers to give and execute our lesson. And then the last one is it encourages teacher students interaction. Yes, For me, I agree because the textbook itself prepares so much so much instruction so that teachers and students will cooperate together inside classroom. The teacher will be as the facilitator, while the students will keep asking the teacher what to do and so on. That is what it meant by it encourages teacher students interaction. And then we're moving on to F, uh, goals. So in the textbook itself, it must have end of unit goals, as you can see here. Uh, at the first page of each chapter, they will mention the lesson objectives, what will students gain if they 100% master the chapter and so on. So I agree with the first one, the end of unit goals. It also has course objectives at the grade level. It means the textbook itself distributes grading level activities. And then the skills and sub skills is covered. So here we can see the in the orange box, the book itself mention a few skills that that are needed to be highlighted by the teachers to teach the students. So here we can agree that the textbook has skills and sub skills covered. And then the sequence. Sequence here is meant as what should the teacher and students will be going through together inside the classroom from this subchapter to another subchapter. It means 4.1, 4.2, 4.3. Does the textbook gives clear sequence? Yes. For me, I agree because for us we have examined the book and we concluded that the textbook has pretty much distributed their sequence according to the level of the students, general level students. So what can we see here is the planning itself. The textbook has very accurate planning, and the goals are very clear. That's it. Thank you.
Next, I would like to share the results of our discussion when it comes to the appropriateness for local students. We had mixed responses when it comes to this topic. However, after a thorough discussion, we have come to a consensus that the objectives and the pace of material are suitable for local students. We also believe that the material is interesting for students at the intended grade level and age. We also think that the material supplied for students is of differing ability. However, we believe that the content is not suitable for local students and it is not easily understood by local students. Let's take a look at a few screenshots of the contents in the textbook. We acknowledge the importance for our students to learn about other people's culture. However, the last thing we want is for our students to know more about other people's culture but remain clueless about their own. We believe that if a textbook is going to be used by our local students, it at least should include a few examples that relate to the culture in our country. Thank you.
We will continue with layout suitability. Okay, error free. We believe and we agreed that these textbooks, the layout are error free, as all the pictures are suitable to be presented for Form 2 and Form 3 students. Next, we also believe that the layout are very attractive and well presented. All the pictures, all the educational tags are placed organizedly and the layout can be said perfect and also interesting. We move to plenty of white space. Okay, we have to disagree as the textbook are very compact with pictures, compact with educational text, and also full with interesting fun facts. So it is hard for you to find empty white space in one single page. And then the illustration are very relevant to the content. This is because I can see that the pictures are very relevant because it helps the student to understand better during the lesson. And then the three elements, appendixes, verb summaries, and glossary that were included are very suitable for the student and also very helpful for student, and also not only for the student but also for the teacher during the lesson. Okay, so this is the layout in the textbook. So we can see this is in chapter unit 4, life on earth. So we can see it is about volunteering. So we have zebra here, we have butterfly. Basically it talks about nature. So these are the examples of the layout. So we have pictures, we have educational part, we also have activities part. And this is the second example. We have pictures, educational part, and also activities, vocabulary and listening activities.